Hey YouTube, it's Chris, K2CJB with K2CJB Radio. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to start us off with a question in this video. What do you say to folks when you show them that you've got your ham radio with you and they say, hey, I've got a cell phone, I don't need a ham radio. When all else fails, ham radio gets through. That's what we always say, right? And it's true. You know, let's face it, it's a hobby. It's an opportunity for us to grow our skills with antenna design and operating skills and all those things that come with being involved with ham radio. You learn all new technologies, that kind of thing. But there's also the important aspect of ham radio, and that is the public service side, or just the personal emergency communication side. And that's what we're going to talk about here. If you listen to like Gaston, the tech prepper, he'll tell you that for emergency communications to work and be effective, you really need to have a communications group. You've got to already figure out who it is you're going to be trying to communicate with. So in my case, it's myself and my wife. My wife has no interest in getting into ham radio whatsoever. So what do? We could use CB, no test required, no license required. I don't think she's really somebody I would categorize as a CBer. There's FRS radios, like these little blister pack radios. In reality, maybe you'll get a mile, maybe two, if you're lucky, right? So then I looked into GMRS, right? General Mobile Radio Service. I looked into that and looked at a lot of YouTube channels. You know, we all go to YouTube University, so channels like Temporarily Offline, Not a Rubicon, that's always an interesting channel to watch. Mike, K8MRD, Jason, Ham Radio 2.0, Ham Radio Crash Course. There's a ton of channels that have looked at GMRS, they've looked at different radios and that sort of thing. So taking the idea of Gaston, which is to have a communications plan, in my case, it's myself and my wife. How far do we need to reach, and when will we use this? You know, a few months ago, AT&T suffered that cell phone outage. We're not AT&T customers, but it certainly made us all think as ham radio operators, didn't it? We went back to that mantra, when all else fails, ham radio gets through. So this video is to go over the station that I've put together for my wife and I to communicate on GMRS. The first thing we need to calculate is how far of a distance do we need to try to cover. The church that I pastor is about 4.5 miles from our house, direct line of sight. Where my wife works is about a mile from our house, direct line of sight. And there's another place where she volunteers, that's a little further away. That's over 10 miles away. So that's kind of our constraints. It's within that circle. There are a lot of hills around us here. So again, I'm hoping that getting the antenna up on the roof of the house with a mobile radio set up as a base station will make all these links. There are a couple of open repeaters in our area, a little further away and a little outside that circle. So we'll see if we can get into those. Now, the first thing I did was I obtained the FCC license. I went to the FCC website. Fortunately, as a ham operator, I already have an FRN number, so I went to that page and I kind of maneuvered my way around. The FCC website is really not easy to navigate, but you can do it. I paid my $35 fee, and the next day in my email, my GMRS license showed up. Next thing I did was I went shopping. There's a lot of components to putting this together. The way I figured this out was I wanted a radio station at the house with an external antenna up on the roof, and I wanted two simple to operate HTs, one in my truck and one in my wife's car, with mag mount antennas on them, so you're not really relying on an antenna inside a vehicle. I at least want to get us so we get an antenna outside the vehicle. So real simple, that's the whole concept of the station. I'm not going to turn this into an unboxing video where you watch me open up all these boxes. I'll just show you everything that I got and what I'm going to use it for. The radio I'll use in the shack is the Radioddity DB20G. Watched a bunch of videos about this. Looks like it's a pretty simple radio to operate, and I'm all about simple these days. And here's the radio, nice and compact. I really like that about it. The DB20 pulls about 10 amps in transmit, so I needed a separate power supply for that. So I picked up the power supply. This is an Amazon special, but it's got this little cigarette lighter port on the front, and I think that'll make life easy hooking things up. In the cars, we're going to go with the Retevis RB17P. a relatively simple radio that can be programmed in the field. You don't necessarily have to program it at a computer. You can, but you don't have to. But here's the radio, nice and simple and compact. And I know this antenna can be removed either with an Allen tool or something like that. I know I can take it out and I can swap it out and put a pigtail on it and then feed that into the mag mounts. The mobile antennas are a pair of Nagoya UT72G mag mount antennas, and they also come with a little pigtail to connect it to the radio. And no radio system would be complete without an SWR and power meter, so of course you have to have one of those. For the base station antenna, I'm using the Stereo CX455. It operates from 455 to 470 megahertz. It's a nice little antenna. I've heard a lot about Stereo, so I'm looking forward to trying this out and see how it works. I also need to get some additional hardware to mount this, so I'm going to mount it on the vent stack on the roof with a 5-foot mast. And finally, the antenna cable I'm using to run from the Stereo antenna to that little plate right there, the little DMARC panel, is LMR 400. There's the DM20G, parked on top of an old Radio Shack digital scanner, but you can see how compact it is. And off to the side here is the power supply using the cigarette lighter port on the front. And then there's the little SWR power meter. There's my Stereo antenna with the TA33 Junior in the background. The Stereo is mounted on the vent stack with a 5-foot mast. You can see the LMR 400 coming down, and there's the antenna. Nice and compact, looks good. There's the Nagoya mag mount, and I have it just temporarily running in through the side door here on the truck. And then sitting here in the cup holder is the Retevis HT. Next thing to do is to take the truck out for a ride and do some range testing with it.
Z988, I am at the red light of Old Meadow Plain and Hop Meadow.
Okay, sounds good. A little bit of scratchiness, but sounds fine.
You sounded good. You came in loud and clear. Waiting to turn left into Avon Meadows as if I'm going to work.
Okay, sounds good. So you're about a mile out from here right now.
Okay, I just turned on to Route 10. Stopped at the red light by Health Tracks. Turning right onto Bickford Drive, heading towards Whole Foods.
Okay. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of flutter, and that's probably because you got some buildings around you.
The red light at 44 and Whole Foods. I'm just going to head down 44 and turn on to Bushy Hill.
Okay, sounds good.
On 44 where Walmart is.
Okay, I copied you. Definitely scratchy on that, but I could copy you. You're at the Walmart.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of... Turning on to Bushy Hill.
Okay, I got that one. Turn on to Bushy Hill. Okay.
I'm at the stop sign on Bushy Hill and Oak Glen Court.
Okay, copy that.
Passing Woodcliff Road. I'm about to go down that big hill that I coast.
Okay, so you're not far then.
Right. Do you want me to go anywhere else or just come home?
No, that's fine. You can come back. WSBZ 988 testing. WSBZ 988 testing.
402 here, WBZ 988, he's coming through Cook.
Fantastic. It's a new system I just put together. I got a Radiodity 20-watt rig sitting here at the house with a stereo antenna up on the roof, and first day on the air, just noodling around with different repeaters in the area. So name here is Chris. We're in Weetog.
Hey, you got Keith over here. I'm currently mobile in Chicopee, and you seem to be coming through pretty good.
Well, it looks like everything works. The HTs are working with the mag mounts, and the rig here at the shack is working okay. The simplex performance, I'm not too surprised that that's how it went. My wife is about 2 miles away when we started losing contact. So I'm not too surprised about that. But what I was pleasantly surprised with was when I tested some of the local repeaters, I come up with one in Holyoke, Mass, which is about 30 miles from here, which is pretty impressive that I got into that. One of the guys I made a contact with had encouraged me to check into their net that they had tonight, so I did that, and I have to register myself and get a user ID through their Facebook page, so I've started that process. I discovered another repeater here in Connecticut in Glastonbury that's got incredible coverage around the state, so I've contacted them also to see if we can get the permission, the PLs and things like that. So that's the way GMRS works, and that's fine with me. So I'm hoping to get into these repeater groups, and then I can program those frequencies with the PLs into the HTs and the vehicles, and they should work fine. We hope. Anyway, so that's my my entry into GMRS. So if you have any comments, please leave them below. I'd love to learn more about it, see what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong. But so far, so good, I think, in my mind. I hope this video was helpful to you, and if it was, give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. And also, if you consider subscribing to the channel, that would be great too. This helps us out with the algorithm with YouTube. But also, I think this way you can just catch more of the stuff I'm doing with radio in general, and we can keep the conversation going. So, again, until next time, 73 from Chris, K2CJB, and also WSBZ 988.